Today we're reflecting on the last 10 years of the Clothing Bank, and we decided to take a walk down memory lane. So today I'm sitting with Tracey Gilmore and Tracey Chambers, who are the co-founders of the Clothing Bank. What inspired you to start the Clothing Bank?
I was inspired by the women that I've been working with. I'd been working in a weavery, and I worked with about 12 weavers. And I realized the difficulties that they were facing in life and how there were such limited opportunities for them. I mean, I know I look like a very calm person, but the river that runs under my feet is raging with injustice. And during that time, I had the good fortune of meeting my partner, Tracey Chambers. And together, the two of us came up with concepts where we both had this similar value system, and we really wanted to work with particularly unemployed mothers.
As we conceptualized it around a coffee table, the thoughts of my nanny, who worked for me and ran my household, taking my second-hand clothes home and coming back on a Monday morning having made 3,000 to 4,000 rand with my very average second-hand clothes, was really the connection between how do we help women and essentially my connection to Woolworths and where I'd spent a big part of my career.
To start a business is quite challenging. What did you put in place to get started?
We knew we needed two things. One, we needed a premises from which to operate. And secondly, we needed product, we needed clothing. So literally, we didn't write a business plan, we ran in two directions. Tracey said, I'll go get the building, and I said, I'll go knock on Woolies' door. And we knocked on both of those doors, and they opened. And that was really the start of the Clothing Bank.
The beginning was also an introduction to us into building power partnerships, power relationships. And we met the City of Cape Town. It was Chris O'Connor and Grant Stevens at that stage. And they found premises for us. I mean, it was really, we went to one meeting and within a few weeks we had premises. So that's when we realized that when you've got a great idea, collaborating is the key to the success of that.
What were your hopes and dreams for the Clothing Bank at the beginning?
We didn't have big dreams. You know, we were thinking fairly small. Everybody thinks we were thinking where we are today, but we really wanted to help one woman, and we started with 10. And we didn't think beyond that. We literally took action one woman at a time. And as I said earlier, the doors just kept opening. And as the doors and amazing humans in South Africa kept getting behind our vision, we then grew and grew and grew.
And we did craft our vision in 2010. And our vision has always been to inspire, skill and support unemployed South Africans to eradicate poverty in their lives. And that has been a cemented vision.
You have developed a very successful business model. Can you please describe that to us?
So the success of the Clothing Bank is the incredible product that we get from our retail partners. It's not second-hand product, it's quality product, it's aspirational brands. You know, in the last 12 months, we got over 120 million rands worth of product. I mean, just saying that is hard to sort of believe the quantum. We have 5 warehouses full of the most incredible product. So we receive the product, it's donated by our retail partners. We have supply chain throughout the country to collect that product. And then we sell that product to the women so that they can on-sell it in their communities. It's a simple business model. So many models that we'd seen started with very complex technical skills, sewing, crafting, and had forgotten to teach women how to sell. And so often they failed because no business will survive if you don't have selling skills. So we decided to start with selling skills and work back to the more complex technical skills. And I think that was certainly the secret for our success. Because if you can sell, you can have any business. The revenue that we get from selling the clothing is directly invested in our program. And we're about 80% self-sustaining with that revenue, which has really given us the freedom, in a sense, to experiment with so many of the different projects that we have over the years.
So I remember Pickwick Street. Can you describe what that space looked like?
I'll never forget arriving with Chris O'Connor, and he showed us the building, and it was really just piled with beds and broken chairs and everything. And we sort of assumed that that would all be moving out. And eventually they just said, no, we're just going to move it to the side and the car needs to come in here at night. It was unfortunately a bit of a wind trap. And we used to have to work outside quite a lot, and we used to come home with sort of sand in our eyes and not be able to see. We had coaches coaching in the parking lot, But you know, I think it made us who we are in that there was some hardship. We had to work with what we had. There was nothing glamorous about it, but I think it grounded us, and I think those values still stay with us today.
We learned so much in that year at Pickwick Street. We were very supported by the people that ran the multi-purpose service centre, which was a boys' home. You know, they knew more about development than we did.
Tell us how you recruited your first woman into the program.
So we recruited our first woman into the program through the volunteer centre in Rondebosch. So we felt that we wanted to recruit women that were already walking towards an opportunity. And we recruited about 20 women from them, and I think about 10 stayed into the program. So we used referral partners in the beginning to recruit.
And I think that was ingenious in a sense, that we knew we needed women who were self-motivated, that we didn't want to drag anyone to an opportunity. And by somebody stepping forward who was in poverty to volunteer her services, that was a special kind of woman. And some of those first women who are here tonight, you know, walked an incredible journey and inspired us to keep going right from the beginning.
You've convinced all the major South African retailers to donate all their excess stock to the clothing bank. How did you get all the retailers to naturally work together?
Well, you know, it wasn't as hard as we would have expected it to be. I obviously had a career with Woolworths for 9 years before I started the clothing bank, and that was the first door we knocked on. And luckily, that door opened. And then I think we started building relationships with all the other retailers. And there are most amazing humans out there who became our ambassadors, who championed at board meetings for sometimes years. Our last retailer took us 9 years to court. But I think they could feel the impact. And I think everybody wants to be of service. And I think everybody wants to make a difference, particularly in South Africa. And it's really been, it is the most beautiful story of collaboration in South Africa. Really, really amazing.
The other win-win relationship is that all of our power partners do earn enterprise development points on their BEE scorecards. And sometimes, you know, people need a bit of a nudge, but now I think if the scorecard was taken away, the relationships would still be there.
And it's a win-win partnership. We're solving a problem for retailers. Waste in the back of tiny store environments is painful for a store manager. It's a control issue, and we actually improve the business process as an organization, and you know, then turn that waste into gold and have massive impact. And then we allow our retailers to tell that story. It's never been our story. It is their story, and we couldn't be here without their support.
You've got so many amazing and incredible people working in the clothing bank. As leaders, how did you manage to build an effective team?
Well, that was easy. I think when you have a very clear vision and you know how you're going to get there, people will get behind you. So it was really a matter of, we couldn't stop talking about what we were doing. It was literally oozing out of us. And I think, you know, people want to live their purpose. And so we kept getting people knocking on our door and saying, hey, how can I help? And most people started volunteering. Nobody wanted anything in return other than to be part of the impact. And I think the stories that they were hearing every day filled them up. And eventually, when we had enough money, you know, those people became part of the team. Most people are overqualified for their jobs because they've given up a career to live their dream and live their purpose.
So you have a partnership going. What are the qualities that you look for in a partner to join you on this journey?
I think having a partner is seriously important. You know, we all have good days and bad days, and fortunately we never had bad days on the same day. Otherwise I don't think we'd be here. We always can pull each other up. We've got completely different strengths, but our value system is completely 100% aligned.
You chose sister to describe the values of the clothing bank. How important is that in the ecosystem of the clothing bank?
So in the clothing bank, we've built an ecosystem where there's really 3 elements that you need, and that is a safe space so people can heal and grow, relevant skills transfer, so what you're learning in the classroom you're going to put straight into your business the very next day, and a decent income, a real income generating opportunity. So we often focus first on the healing space. So that we have coaching and mentoring and counselling support, but the secret spot is in the sisterhood. It's how people form relationships with each other within the clothing bank. You know, when you go home, not everyone's understanding the journey that you're on, but when you're in class, in your coaching groups, shopping on the floor, you're with your sisters. And that cohesive environment really propels everyone into action and is the glue that keeps the organisation together.
So many of the clothing bank women are single mothers. And what they tell us when they join is they felt lonely. They felt alone. They felt like they were carrying the burden of their children's welfare on their shoulders alone. And so many of our women tell us exactly that I thought my situation was bad. But when I heard another woman's story, I actually wanted to help her. And that's where we really form those incredible bonds. We've seen the most beautiful friendships flourish, women supporting other women on their journey. And I think that is one of definitely the reasons for success, that strong bonds are formed, lifetime bonds.
What is the most important lesson that you've learnt about yourselves on this journey?
Sure. Who would have thought that our 40s we would be growing and developing more than we had in our entire lives? Certainly what I've learned to play to my strengths. I've learned to meet people where they're at. I think I had no understanding and perspective of the real hardship that most of the women that come through our door have had to experience and are continuing to experience on a daily basis. So meeting somebody where they're at, not where you're at, is really, really important. And being patient with them. It can be very frustrating, but with patience and deliberate intent comes change.
For me, I've really exposed myself in the last 10 years. I've learned a lot around, professionally a lot, particularly from Tracey, around systems and how to ask for help when you need help, reaching out. I've also learned a lot through the A to B methodology from Vivian Schultz. She's really taught us a lot about ourselves. You know, she's got a whole Hardwires program that we go through. And when you identify where you are stuck, and we're all stuck somewhere, when you identify that, you know what you need to work on. So it's permanent growth. I think that is what success is all about, identifying what your purpose is, growing yourself, and helping others.
What is the most important lesson that you've learned about what it takes to take people out of poverty?
It takes so much more than we ever thought. I think, you know, the mistake many organizations make is to assume that poverty is a lack of money and a lack of things. And it's so much more than that. You know, the poverty mindset and the dependency mindset is deeply embedded in a human psyche. It's intergenerational. And, you know, an individual that is stuck in the cycle of poverty is stuck with an I can't mindset. And so even if amazing opportunities like the clothing bank come along, they almost allow them to pass them by because they assume those opportunities are not for them. They force somebody else, I can't. And undoing that I can't mindset has to be held in an ecosystem where you are helping individuals to experience little I can moments every single day, so that eventually those cumulative I can moments are the new mindset that changes. But it takes great courage. Your program has to be deep, and it has to be very deliberate with a very strong ecosystem.
I would say 10 years ago, we were part of the problem. We were the flies in the ointment. We were saying to people, shame, don't worry, you can't, we'll do it for you. And it was completely disempowering. And then we realized that we needed to change the way we approached people and become a solution-focused around problem solving. And that's really where we've seen huge leaps and bounds in people's lives when they take ownership of where they are and go and look for the support system, which is why our program is holistic, so you'll find support in different places that suit you.
What were the biggest challenges that the two of you had to overcome?
Well, in the beginning, there was a lot of disappointment, actually. We were very naive. We'd never worked in the development space, and we thought it was going to be really easy. We thought that a mother stuck in poverty would grab this opportunity with both hands, and we would have a 100% success rate. And it didn't work out like that. We in the early days, we were probably getting 20 to 30% success rate. Some amazing stories, but 70% of our women were not grabbing this opportunity. And there were moments where we felt like giving up. And then we really had to go deep in ourselves and ask ourselves, what are we doing wrong? And it was only in that moment that we really discovered what we needed to put in place. I think, some of the challenges around different value systems, theft is still a challenge, will always probably be a challenge, but it hurts. It really hurts when you're trying to help and then somebody steals from you. And we had to learn to get over that it's not personal.
So one of the more recent disappointments, or let's say shocks, that happened was the clothing bank Cape Town burning down in May this year. So that was something really unexpected. We never could have imagined that happening. And we got a phone call at 12:30 on a Saturday night, and Zone Watch said, please, I could hear that he was trying to get me to take him seriously, but didn't want me to panic. But you need to get to this building right now. So I called Tracey and Tracey. I fetched Tracey and Mark, and we went through to Thornton. And as we were coming on Viking Road, we just saw this huge black smoke coming up from the industrial area, and we knew that this was serious. We lost 10 million rands worth of stock. And we literally stood there looking at the ashes the next day thinking, what are we going to do? So on the Sunday after the fire, we sent out emails to all of our power partners. And the amount of stock that came rolling in within the month of June was incredible. So much so that by August we had highest sales ever. We sold 1 million rands worth of stock to our women. But what also showed you in that was also amazing to see how people are so resilient, and how our women did not fall off the program. We did not lose anybody. They continued to trade. So everything in the program is certainly supporting their journey. They basically said to us, you go and find stock, we will sort ourselves out for this month, and we're going to be fine. And looking back, it's been amazing to see how much support we have. This collaboration of the clothing bank is what our success is all about.
TCB has been recognized internationally, and you won the Schwab Award in 2016. Tell us how that made you feel.
It felt surreal. I think as Africans and South Africans, we do suffer from imposter syndrome. And as women, perhaps, we suffer even more from imposter syndrome. So we wondered, how does a little project started in Pickwick Street with 10 women get recognized on a world stage? And, it was very daunting. We went to Rwanda to receive our prize. Cyril Ramaphosa was there, Dr. Precious Malloy Motsepe was there. And we kept sort of asking ourselves, are you sure? Are you sure it's us? And I think we've grown into it. As we've had the great fortune of traveling the world through the World Economic Forum connections that the Schwab Foundation brings you, we've actually owned it and realized, what? We do have something world class here. Nowhere in the world is retail excess being used in this way. This is a completely unique concept where waste is being used to have massive impact and retailers are collaborating. That is unique. And I think that's what the Schwab Foundation recognized by giving us the award.
Yes, it was certainly intimidating in the beginning, but we've had such amazing opportunities to learn and grow. I mean, we've both been to Harvard on a systems change course. We've learned about leadership. So they also give you a whole lot of tools because they really want you to scale. If you're having success in impact, they want you to grow that impact. So there's also that challenge. They keep you on your toes. We can't get too comfortable when you're in an environment like that with people that are overachieving all the time. So it keeps you going.
Can you tell us a story about a woman that inspired you and the lessons that you've learned from their stories?
The stories are incredible. They are so inspiring. When you have women that join the clothing bank, and one woman, her husband passed away within 3 months of her joining the program. Then there was a huge issue with her in-laws, and she got kicked out the house with 3 young children. She didn't drop off the program. She continued, and she is now running a hugely successful business and impacting her community. I think she works with about 60 women who she's mentoring twice a week. So she's giving back more and more, and that's also what's so inspiring, is how many people come through our program and go out there and give back and share their knowledge, start mentoring small businesses, because they realize there's a few little skills that people need just to get them to that next level.
So I'm particularly thinking of a few women who were major alcoholics and really on a road to nowhere. I think many of them talked about suicide, and I didn't really care what happened to my life. I just drank with abandon where I slept. I was abusive to my children because of my own abuse that I was suffering and despair that I was in. And there are particularly two women that I can think of that the day they were told that they got into the clothing bank was the last drink that they took. So many of these women made very conscious choices, and as a result of that have changed their lives. We've seen huge amounts of money being made. I mean, that continues to amaze us. We've seen women put their children through university. And the beauty is they are so proud that they paid the fees. We've seen two things. We've seen women overcome abusive relationships by walking out and having the financial security to do that and the courage to do that. And then we've seen women reclaim their power in relationships. It's been incredible. I mean, and the journey that women have to walk, they create courageous, beyond anything. It really is amazing.
Today we're sitting here celebrating the Clothing Bank's 10th anniversary. So what advice would you give your 40-year-old self?
Don't think too hard. If it speaks to you, if it moves you, you have to act. I think so often when people are thinking of starting a new journey, we think about it too much. We write it down, we write a business plan, and we take too long, and therefore the energy sometimes dissipates. And I would say if you want to build something, you have to start with one small action. And then let that fuel your passion and keep you going. It's almost like a battery that gets charged. Once you do something and you get an I can moment, then you keep doing more of that. And then you wake up 10 years later and here you are.
In these past 10 years have gone so fast. It just feels like a bit of a blur. But I would encourage people to limit their self-doubt or put their self-doubt in a little box and just keep moving. Because there's so many people around you that know what you don't know. Go and ask for advice and believe in yourself that you can do things. Because you can't know all the answers. I mean, you can't know what's the outcome of everything. So you've got to have faith in that.
Many social enterprises in South Africa don't survive past 3 years. Why do you think the Clothing Bank is so successful?
The Clothing Bank is very successful because of our power partnerships. It's the collaboration, it's those cause-driven people out there that are championing for us. We are very transparent, we work hard, and our vision has not changed in 10 years. And that is our ultimate goal, is our vision.
I think our team has been incredible. We have a team of activators, a team of doers. Sometimes you can't think aloud because if you think aloud, it's already done. The drive and the effort that everybody goes to, it's certainly not Tracey and I. This is a collective. And then I think we're so successful because we are really having impact. And those stories are what is fueling everybody to come on board in whatever way they do. Those stories touch people.
I know that the Clothing Bank's philosophy has evolved over the years. Describe to us your holistic approach to unlocking human potential.
So very early on when we started the Clothing Bank, we thought we have some great products, some fantastic business skills, some record keeping skills, a little bit of coaching, and everything should be fine. And then we very early realized that this was not the case. We needed to go way deeper. We didn't realize that the real trauma some people have been through in their lives, and it's sustained traumatic trauma in their lives. And how could we support them more in that? So we had to go much deeper. We also met Vivian Schultz at that time, who developed the A to B methodology. And she taught us about how to take people from being stuck in dependency to becoming independent with dignity. And the tools she helped us put tools in place to crutch the growth of ourselves. We first had to do the self-work, and then we could work with other humans.
So Vivian talks about that you cannot teach entrepreneurship, and the reason she says that is because Entrepreneurship is about a state of development. And you have to take humans, everybody's in a different state of development in different parts of their lives. And you have to know where somebody's at, and you have to find the next step for that individual. And you have to craft it. It's unique. Everybody is stuck in their own unique way. And that's why our model talks about working simultaneously with the heart, number one, with the head around appropriate skills and knowledge, and with the hands, being able to practically apply that knowledge in a way that leads to I can moments. And if all three of those work together, you then get movement.
How do you measure your intended impact, and what tools do you have in place?
Well, we've always been fastidious about measuring impact. I think neither of us want to do anything if it's not having the impact that we set out to achieve 10 years ago. And in 2013, we came across a tool called the Poverty Stoplight Tool, which really answered our question around measuring poverty, understanding what poverty is. And the tool uses 50 indicators to measure poverty, but in a very simple way. And so we brought that tool to South Africa, and we customized it for the South African context. And it's been the most incredible tool because it's actually now part of our philosophy. Poverty is owned by the family that is in poverty, and it's up to them to decide what parts of that they want to work on. And I think that is a very important part of the tool. And the biggest benefit from the tool is that families look in the mirror and set goals for themselves, and then they start that journey out of poverty. The benefit for us is that we get to see the visual picture of how that changes over time. And we've had incredible success with that tool. On average, a woman would start with more than 20 of her indicators defined as poor or very poor. And by the time she leaves the clothing bank, about 5 of her indicators are only stuck, and 45 of the indicators she would be defined as not poor.
It also raises levels of consciousness in people. I mean, I was just having a conversation with a husband and wife team a few days ago, and they were saying that they were red when it came to community participation. And they were saying, gosh, we didn't realize that. So now they're buying some of the Clicks personal care products and they're donating it to a charity NGO in their community. So it's triggering thoughts in people that's like the ripple effect of it.
Tell us, what are your hopes and your dreams for the future of the clothing bank?
So our program is now addressing the entire family. So we started on working with women, we've now branched into working with men and children. So I'm really excited about the future. I can see huge growth in all those areas, and we're going to have to also start looking at how we can support the greater society.
One of the saddest things about South Africa is the complete breakdown in families. And we see the trauma of not having a present father in individuals' lives, a mother who is so traumatized or doesn't believe she's worthy of being a mother. And I think what's really important is that we build whole families, loving families, and that's exactly why we've decided to take this family perspective. And I think that's our key, is it's systems change at a family level. It's really hard for a mother to journey on her own, and children need both parents in their lives, and we're really passionate about that.
What would you like to say to your partners, your donors, and your supporters?
We would not be where we are without the support we've had. The gratitude is huge. People have walked with us for 10 years. Some of our partners have walked alongside for 10 years. They've always been there. It's not just about funding and stock. It's been more than that. If we need help in some area that we don't know anything about, people are a phone call away.
And I really want to say to our retailers that what has been so beautiful is nobody's wanted to claim this project. I think everybody understood that the power was in the collective. And everybody has told their own individual unique stories through media, but nobody has wanted to put their sign on the door. And I think if we could take that collective of Business South Africa, collectively working with the non-profit sector, with government, in a way that where the egos don't come into the picture. We're working for a bigger picture than that. Wow, what differences could we make in so many other sectors? I think this is such a beautiful example in this sector, but that could be spread to so many other sectors. So as we said, the last 10 years have gone by in a blur, but there's been so much joy and so much fulfillment over the last 10 years that really looking forward to the next 10 years. Who knows where we will be sitting and what we'll be saying in 10 years' time, but really, you know, in the spirit of lifelong learning, we're ready for whatever the next 10 years brings, and we're really hoping that we can multiply our impact, not just in South Africa, but perhaps around the world. And we're open to that. We're game for anything. We still have lots of energy. We might have more grey hairs, but we still have lots of energy, and we're excited about where this can possibly go.